Hi, how's it going? I've been super busy with workload at the moment, so no programming tutorials for the time being. See how we go next week. But for now, I just wanted to talk about a subject super quickly. I'll give the cliff notes for those of you who don't have time. I got myself out of poverty. I got my way out of poverty. And how did I do that? Well, here's the basic idea. Let's say you learn programming. That's a great skill. By itself, that's a really great way to make money and do all the things you want to do. But if you come in with just programming, then what you'll find is that you're competing against everyone who was doing OpenGL from the age of 5. Do you know what I mean? So we need a little more, and by that I don't mean people skills. Side note, when I was 20, I thought that people skills was something that I wanted to have. Later on, I found out that people skills actually means like people manipulation skills. That's what it stands for. But no, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about other skills which complement. So if we get, for instance, in my case, if we get maths and programming, get both of those skills, then the value increases geometrically. And then if we get teaching skills plus maths plus programming, well, now we're building a skills stack. That's a set of skills which are complementary and altogether have the effect of increasing your value. Okay, so that's the basics. That's the basics. And the slightly longer story is, at one point I found myself completely underemployed and running out of money. Actually, what was it? My bank account was running down to zero, and I remember taking my last $20 and buying like potatoes and baked beans, because I was like, the calories for the money, this will probably keep me alive, and I think I'm getting paid next fortnight. I don't know, it was bad. It was bad, and I'm embarrassed to think about that now, because there was a period of time when I could have been working on myself and doing all these things, but I just sort of sat around waiting for something to happen. It wasn't great. Anyway, I'll stop playing a violin for myself, but skills. That's the way that I got myself out of my rough patch. Because, well, I was a teacher. I gave that career up because I'd had enough of teenagers. But what I didn't notice was that in teaching, I'd gotten a whole bunch of little skills along with that. So I started tutoring, and I knew how to plan lessons. I'd gotten that from my trial by fire, teenage fight club, reenactment, whatever madness was going on in the classroom. I did learn how to plan lessons, which later turned out useful for making tutorials online and things. That was really good. Marking as well. Now, I know that sounds a little silly. What's so great about marking? One of my other teaching jobs was for a Chinese tutoring company, and they're absolute slave drivers. But I did learn how to mark at an industrial scale. So now anytime I'm approaching a professor and I'm interested in tutoring, I always say in my application, like, I can get the marking done on time. Like, that's a thing that people value. And I guess if I were to bring it back to my online work, that's translated into editing, I guess. I'm not a great editor. I think I'm a good enough editor. And I know how to sit down and like get an hour's video done in under an hour or something. I know, I'm rambling. And then all of that teaching stuff sort of culminated in the YouTube stuff. Big question mark, because who knows what's happening there. But at least I'm having fun with that, helping people out, which I'm really appreciative of that. Okay, so programming. Let's leave that for now. Maths was sort of the first skill that I had, which really helped. And if I were to break down the sub-skills that I have in maths, I would say probably linear algebra, of course, real analysis, doing a bunch of proofs, inequalities and things, that really helped. Functional analysis as well. I guess functional analysis is the theoretical underpinning of linear algebra, or rather linear algebra is the practical application of functional analysis. Who knows, one of those numerical methods as well. And that really helped, because then when I came to the programming stuff, I could progress pretty quickly through OpenGL, learning that stuff, because I had the intellectual underpinnings in linear algebra. I had a strong background in linear algebra. So when it came to OpenGL, I was like, yeah, no problem. I know how to do this. This is super cool. Other things, of course. And then that whole programming area just ballooned. So if I were to write some things out, this is basically just taking an inventory of stuff, for instance. Okay, but again, the key here is that it's not just about having one skill. You can have one skill, but you have to be the best at the one skill. But if you have complementary skills, then you can sort of just be good enough in a bunch of things, but because they tie in together, you can leverage that and become more valuable, become more effective at what you do. So for instance, when I come in to teach a topic in OpenGL, I mean, first of all, I can draw on my teaching experience to plan out the tutorial and everything. And then at the same time, I have, my math experience, so I'm comfortable going deep on topics. It's not just one of those tutorials where we say, hey, watch out guys, we've got some math coming at you, but don't worry, you don't need to understand it. Like, that's so cringe. I hate it. It's the idea of everything sort of working together. And I mean, I am just writing a whole bunch of random things, but the point is I'm taking inventory of the individual little skills that I have. They work together, and this also helps me to plan out which skills I can add to my repertoire. Because when I'm learning something, I don't just want to go on I don't just want to go online, look at a YouTuber selling me a dropshipping course and say, well, I've got to change my whole worldview because I feel bad about myself because I'm not driving a Bugatti. So no, absolutely not. No, I look at what I can do. I look at what I'm happy to grind on, and I look at my experience and I say, well, I'm doing pretty well. What can I add in to increase my value? So for instance, if I were to look at math, I mean, probably the one thing I can do right now to increase my math value would be start getting into statistics. Some of the numerical methods that I'm teaching at the moment, we're looking at, principal components analysis and stuff. It gets into covariance methods and things. And that's just something where I have a big blind spot. And I feel like I have enough experience in maths where I know where my little sensitive bits are. Like if I do a little bit of work here, it will increase my value, increase my competence, increase what I can do, what I can teach, the problems I can solve. Okay, let's look at programming, design patterns. That's one thing. I think my tutorials are pretty good, but honestly, some of the modern code the new code that I'm writing is so much better. So if I can find like 5 or 10 minutes between commitments, read up a little bit on design patterns, that has to be improving my work in programming. That'll improve my teaching, that'll improve everything. It's all feeding together. Another thing is basically I'm going pretty well on the programming, but I just need to sit down and finish projects. Just need to do more work. I've got one project in the pipeline, get that done and keep going, keep executing, keep making stuff. Teaching. I'm pretty happy with teaching, but one thing I think I can work on at the moment is my script writing. A lot of the time when I do these sessions, I'm just talking off the cuff. I'm just improvising, and that's fine, but I feel like I'm getting at the point where I should start leveraging what I've got, start building on what I've done, the groundwork that I've laid, and yeah, script writing, good skill to have. As well as from time to time, I should probably be looking up different tutorial formats and just seeing which one is more effective. I mean, this has been completely random. This has been a rant, let's be honest. But in addition to being a genuinely entertaining rant, It's been an example of me sort of taking my understanding of important skills that I have that work together and looking at things that I can improve gradually. This time next month it might be different, this time next year it might be different, but this is sort of the method that I go through when I audit myself and improve myself, if that makes sense. Okay, so sort of a summary of what I've got here. Skill stack. So the thing is, like, the world is a cold, hard place. Like, it's not good out there. Building skills is hard, especially if you're coming in with no skills. It's really overwhelming. It's easy to get taken advantage of by people who are selling scams and projecting and everything. So you really need to be solid with yourself. So I would say start with stuff that you already know. Okay, I'm not a great programmer, but I was programming from a young age. I was making games from a pretty young age. I did have experience teaching. Math. Okay. When I was a kid, I thought fractions were a scam because I'm like, we've got decimals for that, duh. But I did like math. Okay. So we've got things that we already know, things that we're good at. Then within that, I want to pick subsets, which complement each other, so they're going to work well together. Like I feel that this stack, the things work pretty well with each other. And B, you can work consistently at without burning out. All of these things, I feel like I could consistently do a little bit of work without, losing my sense of self or burning out or expecting results too soon, if that makes sense. I'm pretty comfortable with these ones. And then we sort of want to... if you're coming in from nothing, then don't do any of this. Just sit down, put your head down, learn as much as you can. Don't think about it, just learn. But if you get to the point where you feel that you need to strategize and focus your practice, then we get to this point, and that is when I look at the little subcomponents of the skills, broadly analyze the links. Okay, and then perform a sensitivity analysis and say, well, what's one thing we can improve, which will yield a good payback? That's sort of the example that I put here with these little things that I could work on in the future. Like, I'm pretty happy with myself, but if I could work on any of these, I feel like that would improve things. Anyway, did any of that make sense? Look, I don't know. This is just random thoughts that I had. The other thing is, like, learning skills in general is really good. That's probably the best advice I would give in general. I know I probably shouldn't be giving advice. I'm not a very successful person, but I am happy with myself as a person who can do things. And since I started learning more skills, I was more confident and happier to not have as much. So, for instance, when I was making games the first time, I didn't understand any of the concepts. I mean, this is back when I was like 15 or 16. I didn't understand any of the concepts, and for that reason I was always hanging on to old code. It's like, we can't get rid of this code, we've got to keep this code. And the reason was, if I lost it, I wouldn't know how to do 3D graphics anymore. But now I'm at a really good place where I feel like I understand it. I feel like if I lost all of my code today, I'd probably have better code tomorrow because I'd rewrite it and do it better. And that feels really good. And I'm also less stressed about money than I was when I had my last $20 because I have greater confidence in my ability to hustle. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this has been a little bit enjoyable. And like I said, serious tutorial videos will be coming soon. I've just been so swamped with marking papers at the moment. It's crazy. But yeah, all the best. Thank you. I really do appreciate it if you stuck around this long, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.